Most elitist takes about the game. We've done a couple of these reactions, quite literally a couple, 2 of them. And people really liked them and they did really well. And it's been a minute since I've been able to just let the full fury of Elitist Datto out. So we're going into an elitist safe zone right now. We're going into the elite zone with this video, if it becomes a video. Most elitist takes about the game. I'm going to be pretty ruthless. We're going to see what Reddit has said. And I also want to see if you guys have any additional takes here in the chat about most elitist takes about the game. That's going to be after we go through the Reddit thread. And we're going to sort by best, and then we're going to sort by most controversial. The top one, the most upvotes. We will never have unique and powerful endgame rewards until the player base as a whole is willing to accept that they might never earn them. We have been through this already, really. We have been through this situation with stuff like Mountaintop, Luna's Howl, Not Forgotten, Recluse, all those kinds of things. And those things weren't even that insane maybe Not Forgotten was like one of the most insane things to earn for a lot of people out there. We have had so many times and so many people complaining about, like, one of the most common complaints has probably been, I paid money for this game, therefore I am entitled to getting all of the things in the game, no matter what, no matter how good I am, no matter how bad I am, I am entitled to getting all of the items because I paid for this game. And that is a take that I am not willing to accept. I do not accept, and I will never accept that you are entitled to earn everything in a game just because you purchased it. I don't accept. I do not accept. Okay? You gotta go at least earn it. You can't buy Elden Ring and go up against Melania, and just walk up and be like, this is too hard. I bought this game, bro. I should be able to beat this boss. Buying the game gets you access to the thing. It doesn't mean that you automatically get everything in it. It gives you access. You earn what you earn, and that's what you get. If you're not good enough to do a thing, too bad. You don't get the thing. It should be that simple, and yet it is not. So until some people are okay with only like a small portion of, people being able to earn something, like it's never going to happen again. It's why Bungie has been giving out loads and loads more stuff. I mean, for a while, I really thought that like Bungie was just like, F it, we're throwing in the towel with Root of Nightmares. Just make the raid super easy and just make people happy. It's just effing ad clear the raid. Unfortunately, they brought it back with Crota's End. I was very happy about that. Now, I'm not saying you need to completely base your entire game around the top 1%. I'm not saying you should do that or that it's a smart idea, but it's a very good top take. Father's Day is coming up, the perfect time of year to tell your dad, your hair is unsightly, here is a razor. This video is brought to you by Manscaped. Imagine it wasn't, I was just here just like talking about your dad for no reason. If you're anything like me, your dad probably says stuff like business and taxes and root canal and other important adult stuff, which means they probably want to look sharp wherever they work. But it's kind of hard to put clothing on your face, so the Handyman is the next best thing. The Handyman gives you a close, smooth finish with its foil trimmer, which is perfect for my dad who cannot grow facial hair to save his life, and I saw him try in 2020. It's like his face never hit puberty, but it did get hit by a lot of sunburn. It's also got skin-safe technology to reduce your chance of having a little accident, and it's waterproof, so you can just wash that thing in the sink. The razor. You animals, take a shower. It's also perfect to take with you on the go. If my dad stays home for more than 2 days in a row, he will spontaneously combust, and I'm only half joking about that, so he can just throw this in his bag and go. What my dad doesn't lack is nose hair, so honestly, the Weed Whacker 2.0 might actually get more use. It does everything that you want it to do. It cuts hair really good. So if you want to tell your dad that they're getting a little gross, but without being mean about it, head on over to manscaped.com and you're going to get 20% off and free shipping when you use my code DATTO. That's manscaped.com, code DATTO to get 20% off and free shipping. Thank you very much to Manscaped for sponsoring this video. I think some of this would also be a little bit different if it were not for PvP. If Destiny was a PvE only game, do I think Bungie could go even crazier with some of the stuff that they've put in the game? Yes, I do. But because of PvP, we had the we've lived it. We've lived through the situation where if you give the absolute best players the best items in the game and pit them against people who barely know what they're doing, they're just going to get annihilated. And then that's how you create situations where it's only it happens with trials, right? Look at trials after 3 months, right? You start filtering out more and more people towards the bottom, and the skill level on average gets higher and higher and higher until it's just the top dogs all trying to do carries against each other, right? And that's not good either. That's what killed one of my favorite games of all time, Natural Selection 2, right? Very not new player accessible at all. It was just people who are god tier at the game just dumping on newbies, and newbies really had nowhere to learn, and so they just got pushed out because it was too intense. That's bad. That's a bad situation. And I got 1,000 hours in Natural Selection 2, over 1,000 hours. But until the mindset of I bought the game, therefore I am entitled to earning all of the items within the game, regardless of my performance, until that mindset goes away, pretty good take. Follow-up comments here. I completely agree. On the flip side, some veteran players need to chill the F out when Bungie hands out raid gear to Guardians who don't participate in the raids. The recent Marsoft questline letting Guardians unlock one last wish weapon had some veterans lose their proverbial S. And with the Brave Arsenal coming in, they've started having seizures. If I want to go giga elitist, literally why are you giving out raid weapons for doing some dinky quests, okay? Why? Raid loot, best items in the game. You should have to do the hardest stuff in the game to get the best items, okay? You should have to do that. How do I actually feel? Literally, I don't care at all. I don't care. If you want to give out one last wish weapon to people doing the ribbons wishes, I don't actually care. Okay? Elitist me is like, F the casuals, man. Raid weapons stay in the raid. Really? I'm like, just give him the touch of malice. Like, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter. Yeah, if you're actually like unironically like this, like, chill out, man. Chill out. Okay. Just chill, man. It's a rocket launcher. You're still gonna get your top 500 place in day one raid, whatever, okay? Let them have the damn rocket. It's fine, okay? If this is how they're able to get the rocket, don't worry about them beating you in the raid. And if you are worried about them beating you in the raid, you have bigger problems to worry about, okay?
How does that make you feel?
Relax. All right. If you don't know how to do every role in any given raid, you should not be doing the master version of that raid. The same goes for having an optimized loadout for that raid. It wastes everyone's time. Normal raid couldn't care less. Pretty good take. Yeah. A lot of people will get into the mindset of, they learn their role, but they're not willing to be flexible. And part of being a master of a raid is knowing everything that's going on. Because if you know your role and you know everyone else's role, that gives you more flexibility to be able to make a play. Something goes wrong, right? You know, like, oh, immediately I can just hop into this person's role for a short time. Somebody else gets the res, and then they can come back and I go back to my job, right? I encourage people to know how to do everything. It's why I run the raid multiple times before I put out a guide, because there's usually like someone's doing one thing, another person's doing another thing, and I want to be able to see exactly what everybody's doing, because the more I am aware of someone else's job, the more I can understand the fight as a whole and what they're doing, so I can either help them, I can take over their role. Like, more information's never going to hurt you. That's what made Root of Nightmares so frustrating, is because not only did I not have a role, in trying to understand what the actual role was, like, I couldn't really, like, I didn't really know what was happening, and therefore I didn't know how to help my team beyond just like killing ads. So if I don't know every single role in an encounter, I want to learn, I want to do it as much as possible, so that way I am the most prepared. Vow of the Disciples, the only raid that forces everyone to do the mechanics. Caretaker, first encounter. I mean, first encounter, you get kind of like a taste. Everyone gets a taste of like one of the core parts of the raid. Caretaker, you can absolutely split yourselves up into 3 different groups, but it's helpful. It's helpful to know everything that's going on, right? Like, if people have too many stacks of the debuff in Caretaker, and like they're both stacked up, or they're like somebody dies or whatever, and you got to pull somebody in. If you've never done the run thing before, you can't just, it's awful to be like, yeah, I've never done the running. What do I do? You got to know everything to be the most prepared. I frequently will call in people to be like, hey, can you get the stun on the dude's back? Or can you shoot him in the face real quick? And just being able to have that flexibility, that is what really takes you to the next level when it comes to raiding. I don't know how elitist this is. This feels more like a just kind of like a good take in general on the game. But yeah, for master raiding, you still got to take somewhat seriously. On the elitism scale, I wouldn't put this super high. This should just be like, this should be common sense. Generally don't understand why people join master raids while being completely unprepared for them. Joined a master role piece checkpoint raid, and one guy was doing double auto error parent, claimed to add clear immediately and flatly refused to call out any symbols at any point. These people are, someone like this is giga cringe. If this is your attitude going into a master, you shouldn't even be going into normal raids with this attitude. Absolutely not. If you're going in with that attitude says to me, I am just here to get my items and get out, and I don't want to talk to anyone. I don't want to learn anything. And I really don't like that. If your attitude is like you don't want to learn anything, like that is, you're annoying. I'm sorry, you're just annoying. Okay? Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying like every situation's perfect and like everyone's justified in everything that they do. But like if someone like this joined my group and they were giving me sass and they were not participating, I'd be like, get out. I'm booting you. This is cringe. Absolutely cringe behavior. Okay? You should want to learn how to do these things, because guess what? The more you learn, the easier it's going to be to do in the future. And then you don't have to have an attitude like this to get your loot. People are going to want to bring you along. And then you're going to have a much better time. You're going to do it more efficiently. You're going to save time. And you're going to have a much better time. Let's move to the next one. I was having a conversation about SMGs when a clan member told me, if it's not good for GMs, then it's not good. I know this take is somewhat popular among elitists, as if all PvE activities in D2 are GM level. On the elitist scale, I'd say it's more elitist than the previous take. I guess I should be sorting this by top, not by best, but it's all right. There's a reason I don't really review that much stuff in lower level content. It's because that literally anything works in lower level content. You don't need to test things in the strike playlist. You don't need to test things in the first 2 waves of the coil or your average seasonal activity, because it just doesn't matter. It really does not matter. So that way, like, that's because whenever I review something, let's start that sentence over. Whenever I review something, I'm often testing for content that actually matters, where stuff like this is actually important. If I'm reviewing a build, the question that I want to answer really is it good in end game content? Because everything's good in lower end content, the places where it doesn't matter, everything's good. Who cares? Throw on whatever. Do whatever you want. Is it actually good in a place where the stakes are high? You're not trying to wipe in a GM. You're not trying to waste people's time in a raid. You're not trying to waste your own time doing Legend or Master Lost Sector. So I think people have this mindset because if it's not good for GMs, then it's not good. These are people that basically only play the game at the highest level. And this is where they have to care about things a lot more. I think that's all I kind of have to say about that. Okay, this is like a whole effing story. I don't know how much of a take this is. I don't know if this is technically considered elitist, but let's see. So the take is, don't join an LFG if you know that you don't meet the requirements of it. Is the responsibility on the person who's making the group, or is the responsibility on the person joining? Not an elitist take. You did say that it's not an elitist take, but this is not an elitist take. This, honestly, this is on both parties, okay? If you're the kind of person that's going to join an LFG knowing that you're not qualified for that specific group, you're annoying and cringe. At the same time, if you make an LFG and you have specific requirements and you're not checking to see if those people meet those requirements, that's a failure on your end too. Both parties are responsible. Because you know people are going to be bad actors, right? You know there's going to be some people. We hear stories like this all the time. Know what to do, mic, blah, 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 blah. And then you join a group and the guy doesn't know what they're doing and they don't have a mic and they're doing things bad and they're running double primary and they're running triple grenade launcher and whatever the hell else that they're doing. So if you let that person in and you don't even like check their stuff, that's a failure on your end. But also if you're the kind of person to join that group, you're annoying and cringe. And why are you doing that? This is not an elitist take. Not elitist. This should just be common sense. Garden tether works just fine. You guys just effing suck at staying still. Elitist take, we're starting to blow the roof off. Actually, so giga-based elitist take. Garden tether works fine. 100% true. I am so tired of hearing people say, oh, Garden's it's just buggy, bro. It's not good. The thing's bugged. It's not working properly. No, you just don't know how it functions. You don't know how it works, okay? You need to give it time to connect to targets, okay? You need to give it time to connect to targets. I'm not saying it's completely immune to never working, okay? Sometimes it does, but 99 out of 100 times someone says that it's not working properly, it's your fault. You need to give it time. You need to activate it. You need to let it connect. And you need to make sure you're in the proper order because it connects to it sits a certain direction. Okay, you need to give it a sec. Give it a second to connect. Get in a line first, right? Set yourselves up so that you just make a direct line right to the boss. Because this might be a hot take. I actually really like Garden Final Boss. Getting to the final boss, not the most exciting. I actually really enjoy Sanctified Mind. I actually really enjoy that fight. I think it's neat. I think there's a lot of activity in it, a lot of jumping around, rebuilding the platforms, bringing people in and out, a lot of things to keep track of. I really like that fight. I really like it. And I'm tired of hearing people blaming Garden or blaming that final boss on like, oh, it's the tether's bugged, bro. It's not bugged most of the time. You got to give it a second. Let it do its thing. Be more prepared. Get in a line so it can just chain to people. That's true. There is not a lot of stuff to kill in that fight. They need to ramp up the ads about 3x. Garden's the worst offender, but there's idiots blaming bugs in every raid. Have a guy complain that Rolkin counter was bugged because he couldn't dunk. 2 other players joined in on the rant and claimed this is a known bug since the first day of the raid, and Bungie doesn't care to fix it. Turns out the guy that didn't know you had to stand in the beam first to get the right buff for dunking. Holy cow. Wasn't there a visual bug where the light would show twice for final boss DPS? Look, I don't remember the exact list of bugs that have plagued raid boss encounters. I'm sure there's been some sort of a bug. I'm sure there's been some sort of an issue lately, or maybe not lately, but I'm sure there's been an issue in Garden. There's been issues in raids. Look at the day 1 Scourge. But I'm talking specifically the tether and how cringe people are at being like, the tether's bugged, it's not working. It works. You don't know how it works. It's working. Giga-based take. Great take. Great elitist take. Let's move the next one. Not sure this counts. Not 100% sure this counts. Okay. TTV in my game the other day, he was legitimately teleporting around the map, popped in a stream, said, hey dude, just a heads up, you're lagging really bad. I'm not sure if your internet can handle it. He started screaming, cursing me out about how I'm just trying to get him to leave because our team was getting dunked on by him and something about his control elo. I've never encountered a genuine toxic person. He had one viewer too, had been streaming for 7 hours. He didn't even have a big audience. Here's what I'll say about like being a streamer and having people come into your chat and talking about you being in their game and stuff. I'm one of the most, I mean, you know, of the PvE streamers, I probably get the most amount of people coming into my stream being like, GG Datto, first 100 subs, thanks for bagging, right? We're talking about control elo. This is not it. This is not it. This should be, this is not an elitist take. This is just basic human interaction comprehension 101. Not an elitist take. Not an elitist take in the slightest. Here's the thing that surprises me the most is that someone with a TTV in their name was actually live. I feel like most of the time that I'll check people with TTV in their name, I'll go to their stream and be like, I wonder if they're live. Never live. You're never live. If you have TTV in your name and you're not live, change your name. I realize how unrealistic that is, but if you have TTV in your name and you're not live, it infuriates me so much. Bungie should have never interacted with anyone on the subreddit, just kept adding news, updates, move on. The majority of players here are not as hardcore as they think they are, and their suggestions, parentheses, demands, actively hurt the game. Holy. I gotta think about this one. As a hardcore, I want the devs to be active. I want them to communicate. I want them to talk to me. I want there to be a back and forth to some degree. I will agree that the majority of players here are not as hardcore. Well, I think Bungie has the data on like how hardcore they think players actually are. And I will also say suggestions from the community can be terrible because number one, a lot of people don't know how to give feedback. They don't know how to give good feedback. Yeah, I don't know. It takes a lot for me to actually upvote and downvote on Reddit. I don't do a lot of it. So whatever this dude did, it must have been egregious. I will agree with the take that there's a lot of terrible, like, casual takes out there about, like, how people think the game should be run and operated and balanced. But I don't know if I agree with Bungie should have never interacted with anyone on the subreddit. I don't know if I agree with that completely outright. Because as a hardcore, if the devs of my game never talked to me ever, not me directly, but just the general me, if they never, that would infuriate me. That would infuriate me so much that they never responded to feedback at all. I'm not saying that they need to respond to all feedback, but it would infuriate me. It would absolutely infuriate me. This is definitely an elitist take. The true elitist take would be the devs should have never talked to anyone other than me. Now that is elitist take. I would say this is an elitist take. This part is an elitist take. This is not as an elitist take, but then this part is. So it's like a is not is sandwich.
Second one is first one is second, third one is third.
This might be an elitist take here, but I like the seasonal artifact, okay? I like changing things up season over season. I like seeing what Bungie throws into artifact to be like, how we changing things up this next season, right? But I know a lot of people don't like it, but I do think that the seasonal artifact was a result of player feedback of people being like, things are too much the same for too long. We need more meta changes. And then Bungie's like, okay, well, we're not going to just change weapon balancing just to blow things out of whack, just to give you a new meta. So how about the artifact? We give you a bunch of new toys to play with every season to change up your gameplay, give you cool buffs. And everyone's like, no, not like that. I was like, well, what do you want then? What do you want? Former clan leader was so preoccupied during day one vow, anytime we mess up an encounter, they would inspect every single person from the other group from the clan running and would loudly make fun of them and their loadouts. 0 out of 10. Would not recommend. Ended up making my own clan. This isn't really much of a take. This is just kind of shaming someone who's kind of a piece of crap. This is not it. Not a take. So NA out of 10, but not a take. If you're running 2 auto rifles and a heavy machine gun, it's a no-go. More context needed. Where are we? You can get by running 2 auto rifles and a machine guns are good. Try us, double auto rifle guy. Machine guns are good. So where are we? You know? Are we in the coil? What machine gun are we running? Is it like a good one? Is Jez on my team? What machine gun is he rocking? Like a dynamic sway, tap the trig kind of situation? Or are we running with a commemoration? I am not willing to say. I would skew more towards elitist versus not, because if I'm more of like a thinking in the end game situation. If I'm seeing someone running 2 autos and a machine gun during like raid DPS, I'd probably say something. I would speak up. I'd be like, hey man, what's with the machine gun DPS? You know, if they were keeping up with everybody, I probably wouldn't say too much. But if they weren't, I'd be like, let's make some changes. Thunderlord DPS. Hey, look, if you're keeping pace with people, if you're within a little bit of people and that's how you're going to cook, I'm willing to be flexible to a point. Old consoles need to be left behind so that the game isn't being held back for technical reasons. Good take. I don't know how elitist of a take this is. This is kind of getting outside of the scope of where I think I want to be having these takes. This is not like a in-game gameplay kind of take, but it is a good one. I don't think I would call it a super elitist one, but it is one that I agree with as someone who knows literally nothing about how video games are made. The reason why we were able to leave behind Xbox 360 and PlayStation 3 way back in the day is not only because they were falling behind technically, but also the amount of people actually playing on those older consoles was not high enough that the money from them would feel lost. So while I don't disagree, I think Destiny will continue to stay on older platforms until enough people have shifted up to current gen that they won't feel bad about the revenue loss from those older consoles, because we don't really know the percentage. At least I don't. Is there someone that like tracks roughly the population on all the different platforms? And I would love to know. I would love to be able to talk to somebody to be like, let's say if Destiny was only for the newest gen consoles, only newest, how much more could you do? How beneficial would that actually be for Bungie as a whole, right? Because they could come at me and be like, oh, dude, we could do like this. It would be crazy. It'd be awesome without these limitations, whatever. Or they can come at me and just be like, actually, it wouldn't really be that different. I don't know. I don't know the answer. I would love to know the answer, but I don't know the answer. That's how we get the red subclass. So yeah, that's not the craziest take. I don't even know if I would put it in the elitist take category that I'm looking to talk about. But it needs more information. I would need to know information. Some guy once demanded 100 plus clears of VOG for a normal VOG run, no flawless, no cheese, just a normal run. I swear these people are stupid, lack self-awareness, or both. Not a take. That the person mentioned in this is obviously cringe, but not a take. Instead of complete raid or dungeon with clanmates, there should be complete dungeon or raid flawless requirement for seal. Very good take. Definitely on the scale of being more elitist. I'm not going to put it at like 10 out of 10 insane elitism, but it's up there. This is how it used to be. You used to had to do a raid flawlessly in order to get the seal. I don't know why they got rid of it. I don't remember if they said why they were getting rid of it. You know why. I have a rough idea as to why. I have a hint. There's a tease as to why, but I would love for this to be brought back. True mastery in a raid setting is being able to do the whole thing without dying, your whole team. I would be okay also with there being individual triumphs as well, right? You would have to do both, but at least there's something in between, right? Solo individual flawless and then team-wide flawless. I would love to see both, but I would want you also to need both in order to get the seal for the raid. I don't know why they got rid. I haven't really engaged in any flawless raiding, to get some of these shaders because it's not part of the seal. And we have enough good looking shaders that like people just don't really care that much. I would love to see this brought back. Good elitist take. I've got a few of these since I just got out of Master Carta. If someone is using Thunderlord and insisting it does good damage, it's okay to kick them from the fire team. I feel like I should clarify Thunderlord isn't a bad weapon. Just the people who insist it's got great DPS are annoying. Toes, is Thunderlord our fault? Because here's the thing, is that we use Thunderlord in day one rating. It's for Nez, right? Because we did testing. A lot of people blame Cross. We did a lot of testing for Root of Nightmares. We did some Rolk DPS testing where we did Div and 5 Thunderlord. And we were able to one cycle Rolk using Div and Thunderlord because Divinity was broken and it was double procking. So we brought that tech in to Root of Nightmares and we barely needed it. Yeah, it was bugged. It wasn't supposed to be doing a double proc, and we brought it into Root of Nightmares as our tech. And I feel like ever since then, there's been a lot of Thunderlord energy out in the world. Yeah, I'd be willing to bet that a lot of people don't realize it's fixed. So if you're still on the Thunderlord train specifically because you think it works in the way that it worked like a year ago, it doesn't work like that anymore. My elitist take ? I cannot stand players' obsession with cheesing GMs anymore. Our Guardians are so damn powerful that we can wipe the floor with any encounter Bungie throws at us, yet half the people in LFGs want to sit in a corner with Polaris and take longer in an individual room that we ought to be spending on the entire strike. And somehow, even when it's not communicated that we are cheesing, I'm treated like a thrower when every single enemy aggroes me. Incredibly based. Great take. Absolutely great take. If you're at the point where you are needing to cheese GMs, you just need to take some time to actually learn what the hell is going on. I can understand certain things being annoying in GMs. For example, Lake of Shadows, the first boss, it's got way too much health. But then I'm seeing people like jumping out the map. They're like floating on the water to like avoid all these enemies. Why don't you take some of that effort into like learning something and you'll have like a way better time. People still come and ask me like, yo, why aren't you cheesing this right now? Because I know how to play the game. Because I know what's going on right now. Very good take. You're going to have a way better time playing this game when you actually learn how to play it. Like, trust, when you actually learn how to play, it's like your mind's eye just opens to the world. You enter a new plane of existence. Gambit isn't hard, you're just bad. I don't really consider Gambit on a easy to hard difficulty scale. It's more of an enjoyment scale. So I'm gonna give this not applicable. Everyone's always like, VOG is a great way to start for new raiders. I prefer if they kept Scourge of the Past for new players. It encourages teammates to work together through communication more so than VOG. Plus, it's more impactful with the Sparrow racing and using tanks. More impactful how? This is not an elitist take. I don't think this is an elitist take. I think there are also other raids that are pretty good for learning. Root of Nightmares, for as much crap as we want to give Root of Nightmares, it's good in that it creates an accessible way for people to be in a raid environment. And sometimes that's enough for people to encourage them to want to do more. Obviously, there's been a lot of bad things about Root of Nightmares, but being able to be in a raid environment for the first time in a way that's not kind of a ball buster is kind of nice. And then you can use that as a way to push yourself to the next level. Oh boy, GM Battlegrounds. I'm trying to find out the cadence of how they're saying this. If you struggle to do GM Battlegrounds, solo dungeons, let alone flawless them. If you struggle to do raids on normal or master and many things like that, you're an average player in PvE, and that does not mean these activities need a nerf. You just need to improve in PvE. Okay, not the craziest take in the world. I would put it's towards the elitist end. It's definitely towards the elitist end, but it's not. I'd probably put it like a 6 ish, if 5 is like just average middle of the road kind of take. This should not be a revolution. I thought we were about to go off on like some GM Battleground stuff. This guy's just like, if you can't do the hardest stuff in the game, then you are not very good. And I was like, yeah, that's true. Riven cheese should be fixed for good. Not a take that I haven't heard before. It's a take that I heard that I hold very firmly in my heart, but it is super based. It is a great take, and it's really a shame that it hasn't. And like I said in my thoughts video for Pantheon, if Riven cheese is not adjusted, or at least they don't even try to do something, it would be a travesty. I would love some kind of a level update for Last Wish. I really would. It's a shame that raid is like, it hasn't gotten any sort of like a level bump, something like that, man. So here's hoping at some point. If a new player posts about how Trials is such a B to get into, how they want the Adept so effing badly, and how it's putting them up against people on the other team that know what they're doing and proceeding to win against them, it's not an issue with the game. It's more of a you problem. You don't need the Adept of the sour apple laser pointer that's a fraction better of base one, and you hop into the mode with no experience expecting to get an easy flawless. Then at that point, you're being unreasonable. This is another like get good take. This is another like people don't have any self-awareness, which is not the craziest take in the world. I will say Adept weapons were built for the people who care about the slight min-maxing that they can do. Certain weapons, it matters a little bit more than others. Can you live without Adept weapons? Yes, you can. You don't need Adept weapons for anything in the game. They're just something for people to be able to like show off a little bit. And there's some situations where they are a little bit better, could be more important, but only like the top of the top are going to care about that. But this is just another like get good, you're not good at PvP, stop trying to get things nerfed down to your level type situation. Which, while elitist, is not the craziest elitist take in the world. All right, we're going to do a few more, and then I'm going to scale towards, we're going to go towards controversial. If you ask to be ad clear in a raid, I don't like you. Just say you don't know what you're doing. I'm fine with having to teach people to do ad clear roads, but just be honest about it. I don't know if I want to call it elitist, but I think it's just kind of a good, like this second part is kind of based. It's okay. It is totally okay to come into a raid setting as long as the group is ready for it. You're not jumping into a know what to do group, but it's okay to come into a raid and say, hey guys, I don't really know what I'm doing. It's my first time really being in a raid environment. I've looked up a guide, but I don't know really what's going on. Please help me. That's fine. The problem is when you come into the know what to do group and you pretend that you know what you're doing, and then you don't know what you're doing. And then that's a problem. At least you're coming in with the energy of like, hey, I'm new. I am new. Please, like, work with me. I am receptive to feedback. That's fine. I'm okay with that. My most elitist take is that some things should be you had to be there type things. Platinum Starling, Scrap, CF, 1,000 Wings are a couple that come to mind. These are all ships. Recently, 80% of my clan came back to the game and was complaining about how they actually have to play the game to get the surfboard. The people who play the game should be rewarded, and the people that played the game for years should have the things that show off. Holy. This is actually pretty... I don't want to say elitist, but I don't disagree. I know people are very like anti-FOMO, you know, like, oh, I don't want to have to play everything, all this kind of stuff. But it's cool as a player who was there, you know? Some things gotta be special. Some things gotta be, you had to be there moments. A lot of these other games that I might want to play, they're doing cool stuff. I'm not going to be able to earn the cool thing because I just wasn't there. I accept it. I appreciate you had to be there type moments. Now, obviously, the more cosmetic in nature you can tune it so it doesn't impact gameplay, I think that's good. But I like you had to be there moments. Let's sort by controversial. Comps should have really, really good PvE guns. Not to the level of Mountaintop. It must not be locked behind certain rank. Rather, it must be earnable by ranking up or via grinding. If PvP players have to grind the effing ogre from grass for who knows how long for Matador, then PvE players must be made to grind comp. Holy cow. We're already starting with some spice. Holy cow. I don't know if I agree with comp should have really, really good PvE guns. I think comp should have really, really good PvP guns. Like, there should be good PvP choices for the people who play PvP, and there should be good choices. There should be strong choices for PvE players playing PvE. And I don't even want to talk about this because I just had to grind trials for 5 hours to get one Envious Assassin bait and switch cataphract. That's the worst one. And I don't know, I would call this a spicy take. I don't know if I would call it an elitist take. And I also don't know if I agree. I'm trying to be Elitist Datto right now, and I'm like, I'm an elitist for PvE. I'm not a PvP elitist, mainly because I'm ass. So I don't know how to tackle this one. Let's go next. Let's go GG next. I think quote. This guy's quoting someone. I think Bungie should nerf resilience because I think raids are easy once contest mode is over, but also I am the greatest meta horde there is, and I will even exploit bugs if they become meta. Is this a take? I don't know if this is a take. Is this even a take? I think this is out of scope of what we're talking about here. Trials is easier than it's ever been. People that still can't go flawless then spam the sub with posts are just bad at PvP. Also, Bungie ruined and continues to ruin PvP by listening to the 0.5 KD players and trying to satisfy them. Ooh. Trials is easier than it's ever been. I think it's very hard to disagree, at least in terms of earning loot. And Bungie has been increasingly doing things to get people to the lighthouse more and more and more. Like double like if you don't think this is true, you don't know that double mercy exists now, where you can lose you can go 7-2 and still get to the lighthouse. That's not flawless last time I checked. That's 7-2. That's not 7-0. So by virtue of that alone, it is easier than it's ever been. And I will say people that can't go flawless and spam the sub with posts are just bad at PvP. That's probably true to some degree. Sorry, and there's a difference between going to the lighthouse and getting the adept weapon. There's a big difference there, because you can get the adept weapon without going to the lighthouse. Bungie ruined and continues to ruin PvP by listening to the 0.5 KD players and trying to satisfy them. I feel like this is the same, like you could say this, Bungie ruining continues to ruin PvP by listening to 0.5 KD players. You could replace this with 3.5 KD players and trying to satisfy them. And you could look at it like both ways. You know, I would have like the same reaction. Because you don't want to completely appeal to the bad players, but you also don't want to completely appeal to the top of the top players. There has to be an in-between. Quote, you can't run a GM with double primary loadout. Fire team lobbies who kick you for having said loadout. You can. Just because you can doesn't always mean that you should. And with the Lightfall changes for how stunning champions work, it's much easier to be prepared for a GM experience and champion experience. Like, you don't need to be running this for like dealing with champions. First of all, rely on your teammates to get this stuff done. And secondly, you're going to be way more effective with a weapon somewhere in between primary and heavy, being able to drop some burst damage. I feel like a lot of double primary plays in GMs stem from trust issues of other players, which I feel like defeats the purpose of going into GMs. Yeah, I mean, some people run double primary, I imagine, because they want to have all the champions covered, because they don't want to rely on their teammates. But here's the thing, is that you can just ask the person, be like, hey, are you running unstop, or do you want me to run unstop? Do you just say something? Like, hey, can you put on indebted kindness for anti-barrier? Just say something. Ice cream man! I think he was driving away. I don't hear it anymore. Damn it! Raids should require everyone doing mechanics either by random choosing or having to swap from time to time. Actually, hard agree. I remember being so many people being pissed off about the Atheon change way back in the day. Destiny 1 2014, Bungie switched it so that instead of the three farthest back in the room people getting teleported, it was just random. And people lost their minds. that they had no way to 100% control that mechanic. And I was like, this is great. Now everybody gets to learn how to do this thing, and everyone gets to have a different experience now. This is probably quite an elitist take to some individuals out there. To me, this is not elitist at all. This should just be like baseline. I'm not saying every single mechanic needs to be random, but for the times where you can have a random selection of people, why not? This one, I'm glad this one worked out, because we tried to do a different Reddit thread. I don't remember which one. And I just ended up like being like, yes, I agree. Cool. Yes. And it was just like me just saying yes to like a bunch of stuff. So